Hello once again, everybody, and thank you for joining me in the Bettor's Box. It's BangTheBook.com's KBO betting podcast for Monday, June 8th. I am your host, Adam Burke. This and every edition of the Bettor's Box presented by our friends over at DSI Sportsbook. BTB and the number 200 is that promo code. 100% deposit match bonus for the Sportsbook, 100% deposit match bonus for the live casino at BetDSI. It's only a game until you bet it. Daily KBO article over at BangTheBook.com. Took Sunday off, as I have been when I go up to my buddy's place at the lake. So my apologies for that. But, still trying to navigate our way here through the KBO. Been a little bit of a rough patch. Hoping for some better fortunes here this week with the Korean baseball organization. Over at BangTheBook.com, I've written up a preview for the Charles Schwab Challenge. That is this week's PGA Tour event down at Colonial Country Club in Texas. The first PGA Tour event since the ill-fated Players' Championship back in the month of March. Did have a couple of those charity matches, as we know, but got a preview of the event and daily fantasy picks for you, some value-based guys for that Charles Schwab Challenge. And we'll be doing the golf stuff over at BangTheBook.com every week with a preview and also the DFS stuff. More UFC, more NASCAR this week. NASCAR, I believe, goes to Homestead, Miami this weekend. Another 1.5 mile track, so we'll write that one up later on in the week. Also, UFC event. We'll get that preview going here this week as well. I'm sure there's a horse race somewhere this weekend that I can talk about. So keep it tuned over at BangTheBook.com. We'll have a lot of stuff going on for you over at the website. And I'm also going to do some stuff with some NBA and some NHL futures. We've got dates now for the NBA. The NHL still working through figuring out where their host cities are going to be. But I'll have some future stuff and maybe some series price stuff for you over at BangTheBook.com here this week as well. Nothing for the Monday mailbag here. Nobody sent in any questions. That's fine with me. We'll go ahead and jump right on into our Beyond the Box Score segment here. And we'll start by taking a look at the wins above average numbers. Again, these coming from Status, S-T-A-T-I-Z. Use your Google Translate function in Chrome. You'll be able to take a look through that website. Got some advanced metrics over there, some things you won't find at my KBO. You can still use KBO Fancy Stats. A lot of places to get KBO information now. Fangraphs has got the player pages as well. So a lot of people kind of going all in here with the KBO. I know Japan Baseball and the Nippon Professional Baseball League is starting here soon. I'm not going to be doing that league. I'm just going to stick with the KBO for now because we are getting back to a lot more of the other sports. I'm going to have to start putting together power ratings for college football here soon, kind of catching up with some NFL stuff I've kind of neglected. So not going to add the NPB to the list. We'll see if Major League Baseball ever decides to make a return here, but I will be sticking with the KBO. In any event, again, looking at those wins above average numbers here, the offense, the NC Dinos, 3.98 wins above average. That is double the next highest team, which is the LG Twins at 1.99. Doosan and KT follow at 1.97 and 1.92 respectively. Then Kiwoom at 1.35. The Kia offense minus 0.08, but they're about league average here for the season. And again, the Kia Tigers, massive home road splits. Very good offense at home, pretty bad offense on the road. So they're about league average when you factor all that into the equation. Samsung, SK, and Lotte, pretty much all in the same range, minus 2.64 to minus 2.69. And Hanwha, of course, they are minus 4.31 wins above average. We'll talk a lot about Hanwha here on today's show. But the big takeaway, NC so much better than anybody else, followed by LG, Doosan, and KT. Now, I do think that NC, as a general rule, is going to regress here at some point. I mean, offensively, they are blowing everybody away. They've hit a bunch more home runs than everyone. It's just one of those things where for NC, everything's kind of coming up in their favor. Now, I do think NC will regress as the season goes along here, but we also have to find somebody that can have success pitching against them. There are not a lot of good pitching teams here in the KBO, and their starting rotation easily the best in the league. So I don't know who's going to slow NC down, but their prices are going to be very, very overinflated as we go forward here. Going to try to find spots to go against them. It won't be easy, but again, double the best offense in the KBO through a little over a month's worth of games. That's not going to continue. Now, maybe the other teams kind of rise up to meet them a little bit. KT getting healthier this week, getting some big players back. Doosan, on the other hand, losing some players from their starting lineup to injury, which I'll talk about here in a minute. So, again, NC is just on another planet right now. Expecting regression to the mean here, but LG, Doosan, and KT all pretty interchangeable, and Kiwoom now getting up there as well after that bad start to the season. From a wins above average standpoint on base running, not a whole lot to talk about, but real quickly I will mention here, Kiwoom is the best, 0.56 wins above average on the base running side. SK, Lotte, NC, LG, and KT, all anywhere from 0.17 to exactly 0.00. The only team really struggling on the running side is Doosan, minus 0.61. Now, for Doosan, this is important because when they play at home, their ballpark is not good for offense, as we know. So at home, they have to do a little bit more manufacturing of runs. They hit a lot of home runs on the road. They've only hit 5 home runs at home. So when they're at home, their offense really is neutered quite a bit, and they can't generate runs. They can't create as many runs because they're such a bad base running team. They're kind of a station-to-station type of team because they don't have a lot of speed guys. So what happens is when Doosan is at home, it really drags down their offense that much more. And we just saw that in that series with Kia where run scoring at a premium for Doosan. So you really, truly do have to handicap Doosan differently on the road than you do at home. And it's not just an offense thing for them. It's a pitching thing for them too. So Doosan on the road, much, much different team than Doosan at home. And that's really the primary takeaway here, looking at these running metrics and how Doosan they're not a good base running team. They need to hit the doubles and the home runs like they do on the road. They're not doing that at home. So Doosan at home is definitely an under team in a lot of ways. And on the road, they're just a stone cold over team, as we know. Defensively here, once again, NC is actually 3 times better than the second place team in wins above average, which is LG. NC 0.97 wins above average defensively. LG 0.32. KT and Samsung right there as well. But once again, for NC here, the offense, well above league average. The starting pitching, the best in the KBO. And the defense, far and away the best in the KBO. Now, again, I don't know if that necessarily changes, but anytime I get outliers in any statistical category, I am looking for some regression to the mean. So NC's defense is very good, and it will be the best in the league as we move forward here. But 3 times better than LG, I don't know if that's going to be the case. 3 times better than KT, I don't know if that's going to be the case. So that is an area where I would expect NC to come back to the pack a little bit. And again, if we start looking at incremental areas of regression for NC, if the offense comes back to the pack a little bit, if the defense comes back to the pack a little bit, if the starting pitching comes back to the pack a little bit, they're not going to stay on this 23-6 pace that they're on right now. They would be a team that would probably be more in the 550, 575 win percentage range, but they're going to be priced as if they're far and away the best team in the KBO. And while right now they are, again, I do think there is some opportunity for regression for them. So going to try to find some spot plays to go against NC. It won't be when Koo Chang Mo is on the mound, that's for damn sure. But there may be some opportunities when they play the better teams in the league to go against them. Again, it's just going to be on a case-by-case basis. Now, as far as defense goes, Doosan and Hanwha, clearly the 2 worst teams here in the league. SK and Kia, not particularly strong either. But for Hanwha here, I mean, again, the worst offense in the league, the worst defense in the league, the worst starting pitching in the league, and the second worst bullpen in the league. You can see why they decided to make all the changes that they made here over the weekend. As far as starting pitching goes, once again, NC 2 times better in wins above average than anybody else at 2.68. Kia second at 1.28. and then a massive drop-off to Samsung and Kiwoom, the only two other teams in the league above average in wins above average, Samsung 0.25, Kiwoom 0.04. Now, NC is throwing off the curve for a lot of this. They are setting the curve, really, in a lot of these metrics. But with that being said, again, as we know, the pitching in this league just isn't all that good. And we're seeing that here with these wins above average numbers. Now, the one team I will isolate here is LG. LG minus 0.59 wins above average. They are better than that. They are a better rotation than what they've shown so far. Cha Woo Chan with a great start over the weekend. Casey Kelly's better than he's been. Tyler Wilson is better than he's been. I happen to like Lim Chan Yu. He has not pitched well to this point, but he's a positive regression guy. I would expect over the next couple of weeks here that LG gets close to league average or maybe better than league average. Again, they play in Jamsil in Seoul, where it's a very good pitcher's ballpark. And I think it's just one of those things where Kelly and Wilson haven't fully settled in yet. I think LG is the rotation to watch here in the starting pitching department. I think they will be a riser here in the near future. And I also think SK will be as well. SK right now 9th in wins above average, minus 1.09. Park Jong-hoon's pitching well. Moon Sung-wan pitching very well. Kim Tae-hoon has run into some regression, but I think he's a little bit better than he's shown. Good start over the weekend for Ricardo Pinto. SK, I think, will also be a riser on this list. So two teams I'm watching from a pitching standpoint here on the starting side, LG and SK, to improve here in the not-too-distant future. Hanwha minus 1.32 wins above average, and then that's because Warwick Saupold is really carrying them. I don't know what's going to happen with this team going forward, but obviously plenty of issues there for Hanwha. Finally, the relief pitching side of things here. LG and Lotte, the two best bullpens in the KBO by a pretty good margin. I've also mentioned this a couple of times here, and it hasn't come to fruition just yet. But I do think the Kia Tigers bullpen is better than the results would suggest so far. I think Kia will be a team that gets better in the ERA department. They've got a decent whip. They've got a decent strikeout rate. They're third here in wins above average among relief pitching. Kia is a buy team when they're at home. They hit very well at home. I think they're a better pitching team than people realize, both on the starting side and the relief side. They just don't hit on the road. So when they're on the road, you worry about them. When they're at home, I think they will be a very, very good bet. And maybe some of that value for Kia will be hidden a little bit because if you look at the full body of work, they look like a pretty average team because of these dramatic home road splits. So I think when they're at home, we may get some cheaper prices on Kia with the bookmakers and the odds makers and the market not really realizing how good of a home team they can be. The Doosan bullpen's gotten a lot better here of late. They're down to a 6.73 ERA. The whip is still high, but again, they were a team with an ERA over 8 not that long ago. They pitched 8 shutout innings here in this series against Kia. So the Doosan bullpen, things kind of stabilizing a little bit for them. The Hanwha bullpen has still been terrible, and the KT bullpen has not been good at all whatsoever. They are minus 2.22 wins above average on the relief pitching side. They're getting a little bit better here. Their whip now down to 1.87. It was over 2 as of earlier in the week. But it's a long work in progress for them. They're not deep at all. They're going to burn out their primary relievers. So I don't really think KT is a group that I'm too excited about on the pitching side. But offensively, as I will talk about here, they're getting healthier for this week. 5 home runs were hit on Sunday, 289 in 147 games. Remember that 2 years ago in 2018, over 11 runs per game were scored in the KBO. Last year came down to about 9.1 runs per game. This year, through about a month's worth of games here, 10.5 runs per game in the KBO. And that's even with a lower scoring weekend, which is kind of what I was looking for here. So the KBO scoring is very clearly up. And again, it is park dependent. Doosan, LG, not great hitters parks. Kiwoom, not a great hitters park. Hanwha, SK, not great hitters parks. KT, Kia, Samsung, NC all seem to be very good hitters parks here for this season. Lotte is a pretty neutral park overall, it would appear, but because the Giants' offense isn't very good, it's kind of playing a little bit on the lighter side offensively. Adam at bangthebook.com, skatingtripods@gmail.com to get the notes for the show. I know I just ran through a lot of numbers there in a short period of time. But again, Adam at bangthebook.com or skatingtripods@gmail.com to get the notes for the Bettor's Box here. Got a handful of injury updates for you and some interesting ones here, some things that I kind of missed last week, but trying to catch up here on a Monday. As I mentioned, Lee Yong Chan out for Doosan with Tommy John surgery. Joe J. Young will take over coming up from the Futures League here. In fact, he'll make his KBO debut on Tuesday for Doosan. But the big story for Doosan here, a couple of key offensive injuries for them. O.J. Wan, their second baseman, 298 hitter, 365 on base, 526 slugging percentage. He's out now for the next little while. Also, third baseman He Kyung Min, 311 hitter, 354 on base, 444 slugging. These injuries are twofold for them. Keep in mind, this is not a good Doosan defensive team. So now they lose a couple of infield starters defensively. And they were both good hitters. So for Doosan here, could be a tough week for them. Could be a tough couple of weeks for them. They already operate on thin margins for error. They generally, outside of this most recent series against Kia, have to outscore the opposition to win games. Now they lose two very good hitters, two high on base percentage guys, and two defensive players from a team that's already bad defensively. So some give and take here. We know their totals are high on the road, but they lose a couple of good hitters. Now they lose a couple of fielders too. Could be tough for this Doosan pitching staff, which does not strike out a lot of guys, especially the bullpen. Could be challenging for Doosan here this week. They may be a little bit of a fade team. The problem, of course, is that they're playing NC, who's already getting these really inflated prices out there in the market. These aren't injury-related for the Hanwha Eagles, but might as well mention them here. So their manager resigned, and they sent 9 guys down to the Futures League. They've called up 9 minor leaguers. They sent down a lot of veteran guys, including Jiang Shi-Huan, a guy that was on the watch list as a guy that was in line for some positive regression on the pitching side with a high strikeout rate. He was just walking too many guys. They sent down a lot of bullpen arms. They brought up a lot of minor leaguers, and also a big coaching overhaul for Hanwha. But they promoted a lot of the staff from their Futures League team. They were only a 500 team in the Futures League at 9-9-1. So now you've got this Hanwha team that's going to trot out a bunch of minor leaguers, a minor league coaching staff, sent down a bunch of disgruntled veterans. They've got, from what I read, a high payroll with a lot of underperforming older guys. This Hanwha team, I don't know what you do with them. Because you look at Hanwha now, and things couldn't be going any worse. I mean, they've lost, 13, 14 games in a row? Things couldn't be going any worse for them. But now, they've called up a bunch of minor leaguers, and they don't have a good minor league system. So now you've got guys that are eager to go out there and show what they can do. But on the other hand, in a league where depth is already not widely available to begin with, they call up a bunch of minor leaguers. I don't know what you do with Hanwha here. And it's interesting, too, because Hanwha this week is playing the Lotte Giants. And the Lotte Giants are not a very good team. So I don't know what I'm going to do with Hanwha. I don't know what those prices are going to look like. But obviously, a team in a very dramatic state of flux is the Hanwha Eagles right now. Kiwoom, they've battled injuries here and there throughout the season. They lose their third baseman, Kim Wong-bin. Kim, a 273 hitter, 333 on base, 455 slugging percentage. Kiwoom is getting it going offensively. They've been playing pretty well overall. Now an injury situation they have to worry about with their third baseman out of the lineup. Some positive news here, though, for KT and Samsung. We start with KT. Kong Bak Ho coming back and Yu Han Jun coming back. These are two middle-of-the-order bats for them. They're 3-4-5 now back intact. Obviously, this KT offense has been very good throughout the course of the season anyway. But with Kong coming back, very, very good hitter for them. Yu coming back, also a very good hitter. Two excellent pieces for the middle of that KT lineup. You got to like that for them. Should be a team where their offense, which has already been good all season long, maybe takes a little bit of a step forward once again. Some good news for Samsung as well. They get back Koo Ja-wook from an injury. He's a very good player in the middle of that lineup, and they need the offensive help. Tyler Saladino has been very good, has helped them out quite a bit, but they don't have a lot of top-end offensive pieces. Koo Ja-wook coming back will be a big help for them. Also, Oh Sung-hwan comes back for the bullpen, and we know him from his days in the major leagues, was a reliever for the Colorado Rockies, primarily for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's back off of a gambling suspension, interestingly enough. So Samsung's bullpen, which has been pretty good this year, gets a much-needed piece back and a much-needed offensive piece. Maybe Samsung, kind of a team we want to keep on our radar here for this week and beyond. All right, so we recap the series that we just saw here over the weekend. Doosan with the sweep of Kia. Kia only 6 runs scored in the 3 games against that Doosan pitching staff. This Kia Tigers team, 6.4 runs per game at home, now 3.3 runs per game on the road. Now, with that being said, Kia is at KT this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. KT playing as the best hitters park in the KBO this season, almost 13 runs per game there. So maybe Kia's road numbers get a little bit better. But again, the fact remains, 6.4 runs per game at home, now just 3.3 runs per game on the road. And Doosan only scoring 12 runs in this series. They've scored 4.5 runs per game at home, 7.7 runs per game on the road. Doosan is minus 11 in run differential at home. They've only hit 5 home runs in 14 home games. They've hit 23 home runs in 15 road games. So these two teams, Kia and Doosan, very, very substantial home and road splits. Doosan great on the road, Kia great at home, and it plays out here with 18 total runs scored in this series between Doosan and Kia. The Doosan bullpen, like I mentioned, 8 scoreless innings for them. They got a lot of length from their starting pitchers here. Lee Young-ha was good. Chris Flexen was good enough. Yu Hui Kwan, once again, very sharp at home. But the 8 scoreless innings for the Doosan bullpen, a big step in the right direction for them, to say the least. Now, with Yu Hui Kwan, I don't know what Doosan's schedule is for this upcoming weekend, but if he's starting on the road, I will look to fade him. Gave up 8 hits, still scattered 2 runs in that start, but he gives up a lot of hits, man. He gets very lucky to pitch out of danger. Going to look to fade him on the road, probably stay away from him at home. But Yu Hui Kwan will be a road fade, probably for the rest of the season for me, unless things really do change dramatically here. Pretty good start in this series for Im Ki-young of Kia, a guy on the watch list, 5 1/3, 1 earned, 7 hits, struck out 4. Doosan doesn't strike out a lot, so he gave up the 7 hits. But Im Ki-young is a guy to back against higher strikeout lineups. So starting to come up with a profile for some of these pitchers here and some spot plays as we move forward, and hopefully those things will yield some better results. NC swept Hanwha, and it was ugly. NC outscores Hanwha 35-6 in this series. The Hanwha bullpen allowed 20 runs over the 3 games. Hanwha only scored 2 earned runs on 12 hits off of the NC starters. And now at this point, Hanwha's only scored 34 runs in 15 home games. They've been out-homered 24-5. This Hanwha team is just terrible. And look, I mean, there's really not much to say about this series. You know, if you laid the big NC prices, run line or otherwise, you cashed 3 really easy winners there. NC is very good, but they are overpriced. 35 runs on 41 hits here in this series. And again, Hanwha with this massive shakeup here, bringing up a bunch of minor leaguers, all that, Hanwha's tied for last in the KBO in hits. There's 17 RBI and 20 runs scored behind Lotte. There's 7 walks behind KT. They have the second most strikeouts in the league. This Hanwha team is just terrible. And we saw that play out over the weekend, and we'll see if that continues to play out here this week when they take on the Lotte Giants, who just swept the KT Wiz. Great series for Lotte. They only scored 12 runs, but they also only allowed 6. So the KT offense really in the tank here this weekend, maybe because they knew they were getting some of those guys back. You know, when you know that you're getting some of your best hitters back, you kind of relax a little bit and say, okay, well, you know, we've battled for now, but now we're getting these guys back. And maybe they kind of looked ahead a little bit, looked past a lot the Giants to some degree in this series. Remember, KT games in Suwon averaging nearly 13 runs per game. And KT has been very good scoring at home, as I'll talk about here in a little bit. So I'm not necessarily worried about what happened in this series. I think it was kind of a one-off. The KT offense will look different getting guys back. Lotte still struggled to score. They only scored 12 runs. Nothing's changed about them. Just some good pitching performances here, I guess. Bae-Jae Sung, 8 strong innings, 8 shutout innings for him. Dan Straley just as good. Adrisamer Despaigne did get roughed up again a little bit for KT. Gave up 4 runs in 5 innings. But, you know, he'll be fine. He's a guy that'll be fine. Just probably going through an adjustment period. Maybe an underlying injury. We've seen a lot of those with the foreign pitchers here with, you know, hitting the ground running over in the KBO. Maybe that's it for Despaigne. Maybe he tweaked something or something like that. You know, I don't have my same injury indicators here in the KBO that I use in Major League Baseball. I look at velocity. I look at, the command metrics a little bit more. I look at, the control metrics. A little bit harder to find that information here for the KBO. It's just a different game, not as much information. Maybe Despaigne's banged up, and again, we've seen Brigham and Lively and, several of these foreign pitchers here, Nick Kingham, another guy, several of these foreign pitchers dealing with injuries here in the KBO. Maybe Despaigne's got something going on that we don't really know about. Based on his last 2 starts, the command profile hasn't been there. And he was a guy who had one of the lowest hard hit rates, according to Baseball Info Solutions, or maybe it's somebody else. I think it's Baseball Info Solutions. Anyway, somebody's tracking hard hit rate, and Despaigne had one of the lowest ones in the KBO. Now all of a sudden, all these hits, all these runs, maybe he's hurt. Maybe something's going on. We'll have to follow Despaigne very closely here for his next start. But for the Giants, a good Dan Straley start, a good Park Se-Wong start. 6 innings, 1 earned, struck out 7. I'm not going to read too much into this series. I think it was kind of a one-off, but nice to see the Giants getting some good starting pitching. They've got a pretty good bullpen. The offense is still terrible, but if they're going to win lower-scoring games, there will be spots to play on them. LG and Kiwoom here. Kiwoom takes 2 out of 3 in this series. LG avoids the sweep with a win on Sunday. Another good start for Kiwoom's Choi Wan-tae, a watch list guy coming into the season. He's been very, very good. Inflated prices with him. The market has caught on, but he's been quite a good guy to back here of late. You look at Lim Chan-yu, again, a guy I think I want to buy for LG going forward. Tyler Wilson, Casey Kelly, want to buy those guys too. Lee Min-woo, the young kid, the 18-year-old kid they called up. Not a great start for him on Friday, but he still looks like he's a player in this league. Good start for Cha Woo Chan. LG's starting pitching is very impressive on paper. And I think LG is a team that I do want to be on more than I'm against here as we go forward. They've got a good offense. They've got the best bullpen in the league. And I really like the promise and the potential of their starting rotation, to say the least. And LG, look, they were in position to win this series. They had a bullpen melt on Saturday, a rarity for them. Closer Lee Sang-gu, 2 earned runs allowed in 13 1/3 innings pitched prior to that. Gives up a couple of runs. Kiwoom walks it off. Those things happen. Otherwise, LG, in a pretty good position here. And I do like this team as we go forward. The interesting thing about LG, 6.35 runs per game on the road, 5.7 runs per game at home. And remember, they share a park with Doosan. where Doosan's only scoring 4.5 runs per game at home, LG scoring 5.7 runs per game at home. And maybe this has something to do with the fact that LG is a league average base running team, Doosan the worst base running team in the league. LG able to manufacture some more runs at home. Doosan not able to do that. I like this LG team quite a bit. They will be a team I'm looking to back, especially expecting some of their pitchers to start pitching a little bit better in the starting rotation. And look, they were right there with the Kiwoom team playing much better than it had played early on in the season. So I do like LG quite a bit here as we go forward. SK took 2 out of 3 from Samsung. Some great pitchers duels in this series here. Samsung did salvage the finale. That was David Buchanan against Moon Sung Won. Moon Sung Won was very good, though. Once again, a guy for SK that is definitely on my radar. But for Samsung here, again, they scored 8 runs in 3 games. They've scored 5.5 runs per game at home, 4.2 runs per game on the road. They've hit 18 homers in 15 home games, 8 homers in 15 road games. Samsung is a very different team at home than they are on the road. And we're seeing a lot of this here in the KBO with some decent sample sizes. Just about all these teams have played 14 or 15 games at home and the same number on the road. So we're starting to see this kind of play out a little bit here where park factors are very, very important in this league. And not just for totals, but also on an individual team level. SK, they're minus 31 in run differential on the road, minus 8 in run differential at home. Their pitchers have allowed 27 fewer runs at home than on the road. So SK looks like a pretty good pitching environment. So with this SK team, with some of their weaker and more questionable starters, they're going to struggle on the road. But they might be okay at home. The good pitchers for them, like Moon Sung Won, like Park Jong-hoon, they're going to be very good at home. Kim Tae-hoon, maybe you play him at home and you fade him on the road. So we're picking up a lot of these little things here that, look, it just takes some time to get. With a league that was, pardon the pun, foreign to us, it takes some time to figure these things out, and I'm encouraged by what I've been able to see and what I've been able to analyze here with some of these recent games that have been played, and with looking more at some of those park factor splits and how we can use them to our advantage. But it was good to see Ricardo Pinto pitch well, like I mentioned earlier. 6 innings, 1 earned, 7 hits, 5 strikeouts. I think he walked 1 or nobody. That's a big step forward for him. Park Jong-hoon was good. Moon Sung Won was good. SK unders at home could be very good. Choi Chae-hyung, not a great start for Samsung. Walked 5, only struck out 1. Walks have been a little bit of an issue for him here this season. Maybe an underlying injury. Again, Choi Chae-hyung for Samsung, a guy we'll have to watch very, very closely here. All right, so with that, we take a look at the week ahead, the next round of matchups here. We start with Hanwha at the Lotte Giants. And look, I mean, I don't know what we get from Hanwha in this series. The massive shakeup, manager resigns, call up a bunch of guys. I don't know how to evaluate this team, but I do know that I don't want to lay big prices with the Giants. Their offense is still terrible. I do not want to lay big prices with them. Maybe a stone cold under here in Warwick Stoppold start for Hanwha. We'll see what Adrian Sampson looks like for the Giants. But the Lotte bullpen has a big advantage in this series. So maybe you find live betting opportunities if you've got a book with that, with the Lotte Giants, if you're staying up all night watching KBO. If not, again, it's very tough right now to lay these big Lotte Giants prices. That being said, outside of Stoppold and Chad Bell for Hanwha, it's going to be a bunch of minor league dudes making starts. And I don't know what we're going to get from those guys. So Hanwha, I'm just probably going to stay away from for the most part. But obviously we'll see if they play with a little bit more spunk and a little bit more intensity now that you've got some guys that have come up that are trying to prove themselves at the KBO level. Kia and KT, this is a stone cold over series in my estimation. Kia has not hit on the road, as I've talked about ad nauseum already here, looking at these park factor splits. But Suwon has been the best hitter's park in the league. So KT, they get back home. They've got some guys coming back now. KT, 6.8 runs per game at home, 5.3 runs per game on the road. They're getting some middle-of-the-order bats back. Shaky bullpen here for KT. Kia, their starting pitching has been very good, but now we'll see how they fare going up against a strong KT offense in a bad pitcher's park. Kia was in a bus accident last week, too. So they had some players that were kind of rattled a little bit. They go on the road. They get swept at Doosan. The Monday off day had to help them. I'm looking for some runs in this series. KT doesn't strike out a lot. The Kia offense will strike out, but KT not a high strikeout staff. Bad bullpen. I like runs here in this Kia and KT series. Doosan at NC here. Rasinski and Wright will get starts in this series for NC. It is against a watered-down Doosan lineup, as I mentioned. A couple of key injuries for them. Missing their second baseman, O.J. Wan. Missing their third baseman, Her Kyung Min. So for Doosan here, some injury concerns. They've been very good offensively on the road, as we know. We are going to get high totals in this series, even with Rasinski and Wright on the mound in a couple of these games. So we'll see. It's going to be a tough series to handicap, I think. I don't love the idea of Raul Alcantara and his poor command against this NC lineup. That may be an overplay for me. The Doosan bullpen is getting better. The NC bullpen, not great. Can Doosan slow down NC? That's a big question here. I think a healthy Doosan team would have had a better chance, but we'll see. We'll see what the totals look like and what the prices look like in this series. SK and LG. Like I mentioned, I don't love this series for SK going up against LG. LG, their starting staff should be better than they've been. SK is not going to have Park Jong-hoon, not going to have Moon Sung-won because they just pitched. Kim Tae-hoon, he's experiencing some regression, but now he goes to Jamsil, a pretty good pitcher's park. But LG, a big bullpen edge. SK with a weak offense. LG is going to have some big prices in this series, but I do like them a little bit. And also, probably going to be a little bit of a lower scoring series as well, with an SK lineup that doesn't score anyway, now going into Jamsil Stadium, where it's very, very difficult to hit. I will like LG in some of these games. We'll see how I end up playing them. But again, I think LG is a buy team. The bullpen's good. The offense is good. The starting staff should be better. I think LG is a buy team here for the next little while. Finally, Kiwoom and Samsung. Kiwoom's going to a very good hitter's park now. And their home ballpark, the Sky Dome, is not great for offense. It's not great for hitting for power. But yet they're tied for second in the league in home runs. Samsung has allowed 22 home runs in their 15 home games. They've only allowed 11 on the road. So that tells you what this park factor in Daegu is like. So I think Kiwoom is in good shape here offensively. Samsung's been a better offense at home. They're getting Kuja Wook back. So that'll help in the middle of their order. I like some runs in this series. I like some runs on the Kiwoom side in particular, but I like some runs overall here in this series. So this could be an over series for me based on what these totals look like between Kiwoom and Samsung. Once again, Adam at bangthebook.com for the notes for the show, or skatingtripods@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter at skatingtripods. We'll talk on Tuesday some golf, the Charles Schwab Challenge with Brian Blessing. Talk some NASCAR for Homestead Miami as well. So definitely looking forward to that. In the Bettor's Box, we'll be back once again with a new episode on Thursday. That'll do it for me. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And remember that you will never strike out when you're in the Bettor's Box.